Welcome to today's video. My name is Robin Thornton, encouraging you to think musically, and what I'm going to get you to think musically about today is about something called the broken chord. How to use it within an exam setting, which is a small part of a much richer life that you have as a musician, and how to use it stylistically for chords. So what it is this. It's called a broken chord, and we're going to start with a chord, which is 1, 3, and 5. Now, I could say it's C, E, and G, but that doesn't mean that it is equal across all things that we do. There's a thing in maths, depending on how old you are, as you're watching this video, you may have heard of this or not. The thing in maths is called an equation, which means it's equal across all forms. I.e., if I were to ask you, how do you measure your desk? Well, that's easy, you use a ruler. If I were to ask you, how do you measure your playground? Well, a little harder, but you'd probably use a trundle wheel. The question is, how do you measure the universe? And the only way you can do that is by figuring out how something works in a small unit. And then if it works in a small unit, something that you can see, then it's equal on larger forms. The way that's done in maths is that we turn numbers into letters. So you may have heard of an equation like E equals mc squared, where the letters mean they stand for any numbers, whether that's the numbers for a desk or the numbers for a playground or the numbers for the universe. Now, in music, we do exactly the same thing, but in reverse. So instead of turning numbers into letters, we turn letters into numbers. So if I'm looking at C, E, and G, for the C chord, I'm going to take C as my note number 1. I'm going to take E as my note number 3, i.e. 1, 2, 3. That is C, miss out the D, play the E. So 1, 2, 3 would be C being 1, D being 2, and E being 3. So 1 and 3 is C and E. And if I add the G by the same thought, that's number 5, because I'm missing out the F, which would be note number 4. If I play E and F together, it sounds horrible, which is why we're not going to play that. What we are going to play is C and E and G, and we're going to call it 1, 3, and 5, so that we could do the same thing over F, A, and C, or across G, B, and D, but I'll get back to that later in the video. The broken chord goes 1, then 3, then 5. It then takes the 1 from down the octave, down below, and it moves it all the way across, and it moves it up to up the octave. So we're going to go 1, 3, 5, 3, and then 5 in the same place, and then we're going to move the 1 up the octave. And then we're going to go 5 in the same place, we're going to go 1 in the same place as we've just done it, but we're going to move the 3 up the octave. So that gives us the 3 positions of the broken chord. The root position, because I've got the note that is the name of the chord in its root. I've got the first inversion. Inversion just means to turn upside down. So that's the first time I turned it upside down. And then I'm going to turn it upside down one more time. And there's little patterns that you can do with this where you can go. That was me ending on the top one. And as I come back down, then I can end on the 5. You'll notice that I'm using fingers 1 and 5 all of the time. Root position, fingers 1 and 5. First inversion, fingers 1 and 5 on the outside. Second inversion, fingers 1 and 5 on the outside. What does change is my third finger in the root position. Notice that I have my third finger on the E. As I move into the first inversion, it becomes my second finger that I use. If I try and use my third finger here, it just causes a little bit of tension across the back of the hand here. If I use my second finger, it relaxes that tension. It also means that I've got greater access to these notes, you know, the A and the B, or the A flat and the B flat. If I use my third finger, I've only got one finger to cover more notes, and I've got one finger down here to cover sort of 2 notes. If I use my second finger, it A, balances my hand. But I know from my own piano lessons, when my teacher would say to me, but it balances the hand better, I wouldn't really know what she meant. So it does balance the hand, and more on that in later videos, but it gives you greater access to other notes. If I wanted to play, I've got that all covered. So here we are, the root position, first inversion, second inversion. Now if I take exactly the same notes, but this time I'm going to do it with my left hand. So the same thing happens. My 1 and my 5 are going to be used throughout. 3, 3 again, and 2 up the top here for exactly the same reason. I want more fingers to cover the A and the B. And you can use it across different hands. One final thing I will do in the video, so I'm playing this on a digital piano. I'm playing on the acoustic piano setting, which is fine, it works okay. Acoustic piano settings sound really good on digital pianos, but they're not the only thing you can use. It's not, I don't know, I got into piano playing very, very young. You know, almost it's like your parents send you along for lessons. And I love music, it's great. But as I grew and I made my own choices about music, I listened to a fair amount of piano music, but it's not the only thing I listen to. And similarly, I really like this synth here, this. The thing, you know, why would I use my left hand if I can, either if I'm using, it's slightly off camera, but it's way down low down here. I wonder if I can just slip this sideways slightly. You know, I haven't really got things set up in the camera that you can see my left hand here, but one of the reasons you'd learn this on your left hand is just for lower parts of the piano. But the other thing is, if you're wanting to go like, you're holding something up on your right hand, then you would need your left hand to do that. Similarly, and so on it goes, really. So, what we've been covering in today's lesson is this particular pattern called the broken chord. It uses something we use within music, which is, it's like an equation. We turn our letters into numbers. 1, 3, 5, 3, 5 and 1 up the octave, 5, 1 remains up the octave, and then 3 up the octave. And if I change that onto different notes, the equation stays the same. 1, 3, 5, except this time D is my number 1. 1, 3, 5, 1 up the octave. That's 3, 5, 1. Then 5, 1, and now I've moved the 3 up the octave. And I could start on any note, and that would work. The B note. B sounds a little dissonant, or quite dissonant actually. It's not that you can't use it, it's just that you'll be a little bit careful of it. But every other note will work. So, enjoy that, have a good time practicing, and I will see you in the next video.